So welcome to Grid. Tonight, we're going to be talking about fundamentals of new construction. We're going to talk about how you can understand the key players, the concepts, and the fundamentals of building new construction for investment purposes.
Sweet.
Joined by my partner in crime, Mike Hot Corey.
Nope. Now we're good.
There we go.
Excellent. Excellent. Sweet. What's up, everybody? How are y'all doing today? Wonderful. Wonderful. This is an awesome room.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool.
What is Grid, Corey?
Awesome. Welcome to Grid, right? Grid we like to think of as a global real estate investor community. We like to bring it here to a hyper-local level. So we're here in Knoxville, Tennessee. The goal of this really is to, I would say, bring everybody together as a way where we can all like to learn and grow together. We're definitely not here to be gurus, to pontificate on high to you. We're just here as real people doing real deals in real time, here to share our experiences with you. And we're trusting you're going to share your experiences with us so we can all learn and grow together. So I'm very super excited to get into this.
Why do we do Grid? If you're new, the reason we do this is we want to build out a network. We want to build out a platform, right? The reason why we're all in this room is if you're new, you've got everything you need in this room to take action. You got people that you can trust. You got every vendor you can need. There's people that have experience, and you got access to capital. We've got expert builders here, and you've got other people that can share their experience so you can learn from them. We're a big believer in the power of partnership, right? A bad deal is a very expensive education.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. So, yeah, I would like to say, we're just all here. Welcome to everybody, right? Whether you're seasoned investor, own hundreds, if not thousands of doors, or you're brand new and have just watched a whole lot of HGTV and have just wanted to get into this, right? Everybody's welcome. Everybody's here. Everybody can ask good questions, and that's how everybody learns together.
Before we get started, Morgan Hardy, where you at? Kristen Wallace, where you at?
There
Morgan,
he is.
come on down real fast. Abby, can I get you up here real fast? So we've got some great sponsors. Chris with Approach Lending is in Paris right now for the Olympics. That maniac is working 3 to 11, so if you need private money, he is still actively reviewing deals. He wanted to let you know that he was working. In his words, not mine, he said, I know we're not the cheapest money out there, but we want to make sure for what we charge, give you the best experience. So he sent me a video. He wanted me to play it, but that's the gist of it, live from Paris, live from the Olympics.
Yeah.
Who do you want to start with first?
Yeah.
Abby Anderson,
Abby Anderson.
from Admiral. Who are you? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Abby. Just like Justin said, I work at Admiral Title. I do our marketing. I do anything with industry partners. A little bit about Admiral is we are in 5 locations, which a lot of people actually don't know. So if you are needing to do a closing that is actually not in Knoxville, chances are we can help you with that. Another fun fact is we actually have 7 on-staff attorneys, which helps a lot for questions that may come up, especially if you are doing contracts or investments, anything like that. So I have a few of my cards that are on the table. Please feel free to grab them. My cell number's on there, so you can text or call me, whatever works best.
Thank you. Appreciate you. We use Admiral for everything. They are a great partner for us. They've got a law firm insight. So Admiral has been really helpful for us. We appreciate you. Morgan, who are you? What's Foundation Mortgage? Tell us.
Foundation Mortgage is a mortgage brokerage, so we're partnered with about 75 different lenders that we shop mortgage loans, mortgage scenarios between. We specialize in permanent financing. So if you talk to Chris, he's going to give you temporary financing to get your project done. At the end of that project, if you want to retain it as a rental, that's where we step in, and we've got lots of different flavors to get that done.
You're one of that R's in that brrrr.
Yes.
Yes, the
I
refinance
am the
piece.
refinance one. And we could either do that just for the loan balance, or if the math works out, you can get some cash proceeds on top, and you need as little as 3 months after you took title to the property before you can get cash out of the property. So a very short time period there. The other thing I would say is I and virtually all of the brokers, we got about 15 brokers on staff at Foundation. We speak the language of investors. Grid inspired me to do my first flip. It was a financial success. I'm looking for more. My buy box is medium-term rentals for professionals. Love that stuff. Love 2-1s out in Maryville or Oak Ridge. You got them. Bring them my way.
I
right?
love you taking advantage of the commercial. We've taught you well. And
Sorry about that.
No. That's you should be doing that. We gave you the mic, and I heard Morgan calling Steve earlier on behalf of one of his clients, trying to figure out if Steve could work out a deal. He was gonna. So, what I like about this room is there's other agents in this room, there's lenders in this room, but there are people that are also on that same journey with you, right? And the good ones are invested in the relationship, so they don't need to get every single deal, right? They want to stay in relationship with you, and they'll point you in the direction of, hey, here's Steve or here's Chris if I need temporary financing. So I appreciate that, Morgan. I heard you working earlier. Kristen, are you ready? Kristen loves attention. Come on up here. This is one of my oldest, closest friends. Kristen is one of the best businesswomen I've ever seen. Like, she had a business. You were like in your 20s when you were running that family business. Yeah, this whole time, super business oriented. I've learned a lot from her. She's built, I think, the best property management company in Knoxville, single-handedly, manages over 1,000 units. I was telling someone earlier, people were asking me how you get rental data. And I was like, I have no idea. I've never gone online. I just called Kristen, like, what is this going to rent for? Because she had more insight than anyone in the market. Anything I'm missing, Kristen, about your services, your staff, all that stuff? Investor friendly, you're an investor yourself. Yeah. So if you've got deals, they've got to be good deals because Kristen's spoiled. Kristen will buy them cash quick.
Yes.
All right. Glad you're here. Thank you. A woman of many words. Also, this is in public. Kristen is also a bulldog, so you will get your money.
100%.
She does not mess around. All right. I'm excited. We got a lot of old faces. We got a lot of friends in the room.
new faces
This
in
is
here.
fun. So, if you're brand new, who's new tonight? Raise your hand. Who's got a new
First
name
timers.
tag on? Awesome.
cool.
Who's new to investing? Okay, great.
Good.
I love. Well, I'll put your hand down.
Yeah, stop.
No, if you're new to investing, please ask questions. You ask the best questions. Those are way better questions than the let me ask the question so I can show everyone how smart I am.
I know.
But brand new people, if you have a question, if it's not making sense to you, if there is a term, if we throw out LTV and you're like, what the heck is LTV? Ask us. We will try to explain this. We want to make this a jargon-free zone because we all learn somewhere. We want you here in the room. We want you to learn so you can do deals with us. And if you're experienced, what do we want, Corey?
Yeah. We want to do deals with you.
Yeah. If you are way more experienced than you, then please, yeah, we want to do deals. Let's partner. That's why we started this thing.
Make it happen. That's right. So,
All right. Who's got a grid win? It's a chance to do. You saw Morgan grab the mic. Who's got a commercial for something that happened in their life? First deal, met somebody, closed on something. Who's celebrating a success? Agents got a new deal. Don't be shy. It's a networking group. Pete, what do you got?
I placed a client in a very cool rent-to-own property in Chatham Hills, Indiana this week.
Pete says he placed a client in a very cool rent-to-own property. Was that through DST?
It wasn't a DST, it was a development deal.
Yeah.
What's
What-
a DST?
Pete is, yes. So a DST is a Delaware statutory trust, which we really don't need to know too much about. It's a holding entity. What's interesting about a Delaware statutory trust, when we start talking about 1031 exchanges, where you exchange one property to another, is you can use that for that overage. Maybe you sell one property and there's something left over. Delaware statutory trust allows you to put like a partial amount in there and get some of the tax benefits. So they do some really cool stuff with that, with opportunity zones. He helped, a buddy of mine hit me up, said he had 10 days to complete a 1031. So I connected him with Pete. Good resource to have.
good move.
And if you don't understand what any of that meant, totally cool. Like, it got kind of in the weeds. We'll talk about 1031s here in a couple months.
That's right. That's right. Who else? So, love it.
Cindy,
Cindy.
do you want to come up here and share it? Come on up. Come on up. JT, you too. I know you're not shy.
Yeah, you're definitely not shy.
If you haven't seen JT dancing, maybe he'll break some moves up for us. Yeah, I know. Don't threaten JT with a good time. All right. Cindy Hewitt, come on up. What's your win? I'm so glad you're here.
Yes. I gave my notice at work yesterday.
Hey.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Investors. Come on,
Yeah.
Mr. Rowdy.
So,
Did you pull
almost
the-
15 years.
Did you pull the half-baked? Half the room got that. You wouldn't have done that. Somebody made a very famous exit, and he kind of told some people off.
Oh, no, I was very kind. I actually gave 30-day notice, just because I liked the people I work with and just to help them ease their transition. And I'm really excited and just learned so much. And so just a word of encouragement to anybody. You show up to these things, you just listen and learn and absorb all the information that's being taught, and it makes a difference. It really does. And I didn't mean to do this, but Steve, I called you when I had my first deal that I wanted to talk about, and you told me all kinds of stuff, filled my brain up. And, I just think about it. And so it makes a difference in just consistency and persistence and just listening and talking and learning every single day, and you can get to where you want to be.
Love that. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Success leaves some clues. Cindy also called me up and said, "Hey, I want to go to dinner and pick your brain." We went to dinner and we hung out. So if you want to catch, we are available. Lunches, we've got some other events coming up. JT, what's your win, buddy?
Where's the music at? Oh. All right, I got 2 wins going on. For one, I've been blessed by God to meet another partner who we're starting a fund. So yeah, it's going to be super cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And
JT, how long ago did you graduate?
I graduated in, I don't know, May, I think. Is that when you graduate? Yeah. May. I graduated in May. And I got 2 deals under contract today. One is in Knoxville. It's turnkey, ready to go. And it's at I don't know exactly what at percentage of ARV, but it's like a super, $40K profit-ish. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. Please don't take any advice from me. But, of course, yeah, turnkey, ready to go. Y'all can put it on the market if you please. So, yeah, that. And then I have another deal. I need consulting on, a bar, if anybody knows about bars.
Got it.
Congrats, dude. That's awesome.
So are you buying the real estate or just the business on that, JT?
That's just the business.
Okay, I've got business brokerage. Corey's got some background in hospitality, not in the bar side. I know some bar owners.
We chatted a little bit about it.
Yeah, love it. All right,
That's cool.
kick this thing off. Okay,
Yeah, next week.
for everybody at home watching this, we've got a daytime series because I know not everybody can stay late and network. Coffee, donuts, and networking. It's going to be the Friday after Grid, the subsequent week, right? So the second Friday of the month. And this one is at the Design Center. It's Amanda Furlow's Design Center. So if you haven't seen it, what Amanda's done is create, anybody ever done selections for new construction? Where you had to go to the showroom and pick out your finishes and your fixtures and the tile and stuff? This is an independent selection center. So you could go there and pick out selections. If you're doing a spec build or something, some of you guys, you could go there and bring someone in there to do a selections with you. And so it's an independent design center, really, really cool. And we're going to be joined by Barack Saltzman. Who's Barack?
Barack. So Barack Saltzman is the city director for D.R. Horton. He runs the territory there from Chattanooga all the way to Southwest Virginia. So it'd be a great opportunity to come connect with somebody like that who's really on the forefront of they're the largest home builder in America, right? So it'd be a good chance to pick that guy's brain, understand their perspective on the market, where are they going to, what are they building, what's their timeline in doing that as well. That's a big territory, right? I mean, that's the whole eastern side of the state. They're building somewhere around 2,000 plus units per year, somewhere around that.
2,000 units if you count Chattanooga, 900 this year. Jamie's gonna speak to that a little bit. I'm sure Nolan might be able to as well, and Brad, about what the prognosis looks like locally, but they're building 900 units here. So we just think it's important to get an idea of where the market's going. Now, DR generally, 80% of their inventory goes to homeowners. They're not selling a lot to investors. They're doing some stuff where they're doing build to rent, and they're selling that to institutions. But they do have some stuff in Kodak. Toby, raise your hand. Stand up, wave to the people. Toby's got some information. If you're curious, they're selling some investor-friendly, is it townhouses? Right? Yeah, in Kodak, that might make sense for some investors. Investors are actually able to bid on them because DR screens you. They won't let you. They'll do background checks. They won't let you buy their regular stuff.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
We usually release for offers, but these townhomes are going to be immediate sale. So as soon as they get released for investors, they're probably going to be under contract within 34 hours. So if you guys are interested, definitely get on top of it right away.
Cool. Thank you. So
Love it,
for
dude. Thanks.
everyone that couldn't hear, he's saying usually they'll release these things for offers. Like I've seen that you get these releases of the stage. These are just going to hit the market and they should go pretty quickly. They anticipate. So who are you, Corey?
Cool. So my name is Corey. I'm an agent investor here in Knoxville. I've been doing that now for going on 6 years now, which is really cool. Started my journey back in 2009 with my first home purchase, which I just subsequently house hacked. Went there from there to started flipping lots for just extra cash until we moved here to Florida, or excuse me, moved here to Tennessee rather. And then from there just started buying single family home to where now we've got a portfolio of 6 properties, including our primary residence. We were able to retire the missus from her full-time job here about a year and a half ago, which was really, really cool. And we're just now continuing on the journey, building out our sales team as well. I'm very, very excited for that.
Love it. If you're just coming in, I see about 6 to 8 seats here. You don't have to stand the whole time. There's one up front here, that row right here. There's 2 over at this table. There's a seat next to the couch. Zach won't bite. He's got some room next to him. But yeah, don't want everyone standing for an hour. My name's Justin Myers. So I am an agent, I'm an investor, and I'm director of expansion for Grid nationally. I got started in 2003 as a mortgage broker. 2005. I was 23 years old. Had never owned anything, never had any credit. And so I've had a journey that's taken me on a lot of different facets of the industry. Gotten to work on the operations side. Actually got to work a lot with my partner here, Jamie Smith. We worked together for years, on the admin and the ops side. He's a great agent and a builder. Learned a lot from him. So I've been able to build some communities around the country. So I'm really passionate about it because I've seen what happens when you build something like this, like the change that it makes for everybody. And when we all connect you individually, like the whole community ends up being stronger, because what we're really looking to build here is a high trust environment. An environment where you can go, hey, Jenny, what do you think about Steve? Hey, Steve, what was your experience working with Paul, right? And you can crowdsource this thing so you don't have to come up with every single vendor or investor or relationship on your own. We can share and collaborate together.
Yeah. Our network is your network.
So when you're looking around, name tags, this is the system. If you need it, there's a reminder over there, right? Red is people that provide services. Yellow provides deals. Purple is going to be your Grid leaders, people that work with Grid that can connect you. Ask them if you need a connection. Green is people that got money. Who needs money? Am I the only one? Shh. Let me hold $20. And blue are people that are new, which if I did one thing, it'd be go talk to the new people. More things have happened in my life from being the first person to come say hi to somebody and become friends with them, right? It's been one of the greatest things for building relationships. So, Corey, let's run down the list.
Yeah, cool. So here, who's buying deals? Everybody's hands should be up right now. Everybody's got to be shopping for deals right now, right? Cool.
If you're not buying deals, is it because you need money? So who's got money to lend? Who's got money to lend? Sean's got some money. Steve's got money. Natalie's got money. Carrie's got some money. All right, fantastic. Who's got a deal they're looking to sell tonight? I've heard about a couple good ones. JT does. Or Elena, where are you at? I know you had one. Fantastic. There was a couple more. Some agents there. Bryant's being shy. Bryant's got some good deals.
Lance. Great.
Okay. Who's a vendor? That meaning like, are you a contractor? Are you, I see Zach raising his hands. Who needs an electrician? That's a rare breed. Yes. It's actually here, so you know he's not so covered up. He's going to take 4 weeks to get to your job. Well,
2 weeks.
I heard a great joke about a carpenter. Asked me after the meeting. It's not a stage joke.
Fair.
All right. Who's brand new today? Raise your hands.
Brand new first timers.
Okay, fantastic.
Very cool. Welcome.
Who thinks they came from the farthest away?
Yep. Yeah, a couple giveaways. Furthest traveled. Who thinks they traveled the furthest from here? Potentially. Would you got Chattanooga? Who else?
Who came to a networking meeting but doesn't want to network? It's a lot of people, right? I know. So how far did you come from? Coreyton. Who came from farther away than Coreyton? Bryant came from, you down in Sweetwater? That's it.
It's close.
Kingston, says Carolyn, but you're not brand new. Walla. Walla came from Greece. He's gracing us from Greece. It's a tough life. Just got back from Alex. Africa. Stretching the timeline a little bit. I love it, Alex. We did this one time. We had a guy that came from Italy. That just came to visit his family and was there like a week ago from Italy. All right, so who actually did come from? Where are our giveaways, by the way?
Allison's got them.
Allison's got them?
Allison will be our giveaway person.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. So who actually, is it Coreyton? Is it Sweetwater? Am I missing anybody? All right. We're going to call Ryan. We're going to call it for Ryan here.
Yeah, all right.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. We got a t-shirt for you. See Allison.
Okay.
First deal. First deal, last 60 days. Who's done their first transaction in the last 60 days?
Shay, you did? Yes.
Love
That's amazing.
that. Love that.
I love to hear it. Did I see your hand go back there, Luke?
Yeah, so I started some handyman work and did some first jobs. That's cool.
Let's
Congratulations.
go.
That's awesome.
Let's go.
Very cool.
Are you taking more handyman work, Luke? Are you taking more handyman work?
Sure, yeah, so I cut and sell firewood, and that's, I get down there 2 during the week, and I fill up afternoons.
All right, so you're going to be very popular. I got to ask for, get with me afterwards. I got to ask for a handyman today, actually.
Yeah.
All right. First deal of the past 6. So Shay, get with Allison, and she'll get you some grid swag. Yes, Elena.
First property on the contract.
Let's go!
Oh,
Elena got her first property under contract. I love it. Is that the one you're shopping for us today? So Elena's got a deal in Oak Ridge. It's a gut. So get with her. She can show you the details.
Cool. Get with
All right.
Allison. She'll take care of you.
Fantastic. And then we're going to get a little social, right? One of the things that we teach, anybody come to how to market and prospect for deals?
I was there.
Okay, well, great. If you weren't there, you need to know this. Like, how do you actually find deals? How do people call you? You talk about real estate. That's why JT dances. So people like actually see that you're doing some of this. So grab a selfie with one of us, tag us.
Take a
at
picture of the
Grid
room.
Knoxville, take a picture of the room and post it. And we're going to do a drawing tomorrow. We'll send out some grid gear. The reason we want you to do this, though, is when you say, hey, I'm going to an investor meeting, like you'll start to attract investment deals. How do I know that? Because look around this room. You're all here. We're just 2 guys that started doing this 3 years ago, right? Like, it works.
Yep. So post about it. Take a picture. Tag Grid Knoxville. Tag us. Right. We'll do some drawings. We'll do a little bit later on tonight.
Ooh.
Actually, we'll do some giveaways. Allison will be your contact from there. So go out there, post about it. We'll make sure we'll be giving away some T-shirts, right? Some grid gear.
Love it. Okay. Important legal stuff. Investing is not don't sue us.
Yeah. Just don't sue
Right.
me, bro.
Will, don't sue us. Investing is not a zero-sum game. Don't invest money that you can't afford to lose or that you can't afford to have tied up. What's interesting, actually, I'm glad Jamie's in this room. We worked with somebody, and this guy bought a subdivision. It's an election time story. Remember when the budget, the fiscal cliff, was like a big deal for a month, and Paul Ryan and Obama, and we had the sequester and the government shut down? So there was a land sale for this property, because that's how you go sell a subdivision, is you do a land sale, you get everyone there, you sell the dream, you sell it all the lots, and you go build, right? You build the development. The sequester killed the land sale. Jamie, it took him 10 years. He had to sit on that land for 10 years. We ended up building cabins out there. It's out in Murphy, North Carolina. He came out in the black eventually, but he had to ride that out that whole time. Like, he had to have a long horizon. So, like, you can win this game if you have a long enough horizon, but it is not, like, it's an easy way to get rich. It's an easy way to go broke. Mm-hmm. Building wealth is a slow, gradual game. And we got a recipe for you.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Just quick release of photography. So just right, we are recording all this. So everybody's here. You're on camera. Smile. Right.
All right. Who's ready to get started? Yeah.
Sweet.
Who's bought a new construction home in the room? Yeah. Just any sort of, great, fantastic. Who's been involved in building a new construction home, like working on that process? You just come buy something off the lot. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, just a couple, right? Let's see my builders up front here. Why would you want to invest in new construction? Why did y'all buy new construction? What are some reasons? Why'd you buy it, Nathan? Cheap. Yeah. Instant equity, right? Because there was a bump. It was less expensive per square foot, I guess, than some of the competition. They give you a good deal. Gotcha. And it had modern features and amenities. You're going to recognize that in some of our slides. I love it. Who else? Yeah, John.
Maintenance.
Maintenance, right? Yeah, much lower maintenance, right, Corey?
Absolutely. Yeah, that first 10, 15 years, you're really CapEx pretty low on that.
If you've got a good builder.
If you've got a good builder. That's fair.
If you got a good builder, but yes, in theory, much lower maintenance because all my major systems, plumbing, electrical, hot water, right, should be under warranty for 10 years and they should be functioning correctly. I don't have to worry about those. One more. What's another reason why someone bought new construction? Yes, Monica.
We knocked down a house that burned down, and we stuck my grandparents in a new house right there. It's in our neighborhood.
Love it. So it's reuse, right? House burned down, tore it down, built brand new, right? So that's infill that we're going to talk about here.
That's right. So we're talking about it, right?
Yeah, let's run through it. So
Yeah.
we're going to kind of speed run through these slides, by the way, because we got this panel. So if there's something here, you can ask some questions, but we're also save them. We'll ask them when the builders are up here. Sound fair? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. There's adult beverages. There's Fresca. Get yourself something if you're feeling shy.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, cool. So a couple reasons why new construction. Certainly less competition overall, higher costs and barriers going into it. So compared to the flipping side of things, a little bit more costly getting into it. So fewer competitors versus rehabbers or your buy and hold investors. You definitely got more of a predictable cost and timeline in this. Who's dug into an older home or gone through a remodel and started working on it and realized you just opened up a whole can of worms? Absolutely, right? Those costs start to balloon. There's always something, right? For me, famously, one of my historic remodel, I started opening into it, and termites had chewed half that house up, and there was an extra $30,000-$40,000 in foundation and framing work that had to go right into that thing. It's a beautiful house. It's still one of my rentals. It's probably my favorite one. I learned a lot through that process, but that sucked when we started getting into that. So the predictable cost and timeline is a big, big benefit of that for the most part.
So generally speaking, if you're working with new construction, you're doing this correctly, you've got predictable cost and timeline, right? They're bidding off the plan. It shouldn't be a surprise. You know how much your materials are going to be. In theory, they're less volatile right now. We can ask the builders what that looks like. And I've got a predictable timeline if I can manage that project, unlike flipping where it really is. We don't know what we're going to get into until we get into the project.
100%. Cool. So greater returns overall. Again, when you've got an unpredictable cost or timeline in there, that profit or potential profit can very quickly start to shrink away. And so that returns going into that one, like your just cost to build in there, can typically be lower overall compared again to even just going into a full remodel with those things getting out of hand. You can certainly raise capital to go do this a lot easier than maybe necessarily for taking on a 100-year-old homes with 100-year-old problems.
Sure. And you've got the access of we got Sean in the room. Sean works for a local private bank. So you got access to some institutional capital as opposed to private money on a flip deal. So the rates are going to be a little better. The terms are going to be a little easier.
And I would say probably one of my favorite ones there is actually just you can sell the property oftentimes before you've even completed it. Right? You can do pre-sold new construction. You could do this all the way from just you've got the vacant lot and the plans ready to go. Oftentimes some builders will get up to a point where they've got it framed out or in the dry, so to speak, right? That's when everything's closed up and they start doing your interior finishes. They'll start to release it then for sale. But when you can go ahead and just get it sold and start to fund your next project right on the front end, you finish that build out and you can roll those costs over. It's a pretty big advantage.
Sure. And then I think there's two, we just talked about it. It's one Nathan brought up right there, modern appeal. If I'm building brand new, it can have gas, it can have, designer tile, I can put in granite, right? I'm not going back with wood paneling or something, which I can respond to market trends. I can see what the market is asking for, and I can bring them, especially maybe a blueprint they're looking for, right? If the market wants open concept, sometimes existing inventory is not possible to do that. It's going to be cost prohibitive. Or I can actually go to areas too. I've got some flexibility on where I'm actually building this product and be on trend there as well.
That's right. Yeah, and certainly just appealing to a broader market. Everybody likes new, right? So when you can go ahead and put out a product like that where it's applicable to a vast majority of people, because again, most people like brand new stuff, you got a better upside in terms of your resale.
Yeah, as an agent on the sales side, I can say that has been our experience, right? That every segment and demographic of my home buyer market, whether it's my downsizers, people are moving for a couple reasons, right? Divorce, diamonds, dollars,
Diapers, diplomas.
deployment. Yes.
Deployment.
There's a couple, death, right? So
Sure.
whatever that scenario is, I've sold new construction to all of those people for the same thing, the perceived convenience, the safety. It's going to satisfy dad, the home inspector, a little easier sometimes.
Yeah, the famous
right?
home inspector dad.
Yeah. So our focus tonight is going to be, although, I can ask Nolan some questions on the apartment side, we're going to talk about single family just because that's a more realistic entry for everyone. Everyone here, it's a model that we're going to understand, and it's something you could all, embark on if you were going to get started. That's where most of us are going to start.
That's right.
So, Corey, you got 4 big questions.
Yeah, these are going to be the things we're really going to try to dive into tonight, right? It's the what can you build, what should you build, how do you manage that process, and ultimately, how much is it going to cost?
Anybody, before we run through this, anything we didn't cover there in benefits of new construction? No? Good. Let's run through, let's answer these real fast. I want to bring the panel up. What can you build, Corey?
Sure. So certainly going on something that's like a tear down or raw land, a property, this is something that already has a piece of property, an old home that you can tear down on it. One of the biggest advantages for that is you already know what you can build there. Your utilities are already run. You've got a good idea. You could potentially go to the city and petition for like a rezone, but you've got a good understanding for what's actually going to be in place. Raw land, however, is certainly going to require a little bit more legwork because you've got some feasibility studies that have to be done to ensure that you can put what you want to put there.
And so when we're talking about raw land versus like developed land, right? So infill, we know what that looks like. It's an empty lot in a subdivision, right? Raw land is something where it's a piece of property, may not have easements in there, may not have utilities. You don't know if it's what the perk is, if you have to have a well there or a septic. And so there's a lot more variables in the cost. However, in a lot of cases, it's most profitable to subdivide land. That's why you see developers buying that land in Carnes and subdividing it all up. Like their delta that they're making, the profit that they're making, is taking that raw land and putting it into a buildable product. That's into a buildable product. That's the value add they're adding. Sure. So if you're going to go that route, just be aware that you're going to take more time in doing so. There's going to be more variables that are out of your control as you go through like the governmental processes, and you're going to need some additional help. Engineers, land use attorneys, other consultants to do that versus what Monica did, which is, hey, the house burned down, we're building back something on the same property.
Yeah. So zoning, right? This helps tell you what you can build on that piece of property. A good architect, engineer, builder, contractor should certainly be familiar with the zoning process and what, again, can be built in there, or modifications can be done in that space. So, right. So generally speaking, the smaller the lot, the more of it you want to build on. Mm-hmm. Right?
Skip ahead then.
Sorry.
Yep.
Oh, you got to pause it.
Oh, cool.
There you go. Yeah.
So if you've got a very small lot, then you might want to max it out. You might want to do some, Nolan, you've done some tall and skinnies in Chattanooga, right? That's where maybe you're going vertical, or we're doing a 0 lot line. It's going to require a different kind of build. If I've got a very small lot, if I've got a larger lot, I'm obviously not using all of that, right? An acre lot, I'm not building, a 20,000 square foot home, okay? So infrastructure and utility availability. This is a big one when we're looking, people call us looking for land. Like, what's their budget? How much, do they have some idea of what it's going to cost to put a driveway in there? And what's my utility access for that property is really going to change the value of that land. So it's gas, electrical available, water and sewer available. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which can certainly, that's where it can really get costly. Even how far back onto the property you want to go, just that cost of diving all the way into it. If it's 100 feet off the street or 200 feet off the street versus say you want to go quarter mile, half mile off the road and you've got to develop all that way out, those costs can certainly go up.
And it's certainly something to look at if you're thinking like, hey, I want to build I'd like to have some acreage. Fantastic. Like, what's the cost going to be to get your driveway a half a mile up the property along with your utilities, right? Easy questions, just more legwork, on the front end.
Just a little bit more.
So many of the what you can build questions, right, can be answered by going to the county municipality planning office, going down, calling the city, calling the county, having a conversation with them about what you can build. I have found them to be very helpful on the front end, looking at land in South Knoxville, and they're, had a blue stream through it. So if you don't know, a blue stream is when you look at like the water infrastructure, there's some that are designated as like freshwater carriers. They go right off the river. You've got some big easements when those are involved. And so when we looked at that, the property was unusable really because of the size of the easements on both sides. But they walked through, they gave me some guidance on, hey, you're gonna have to build out culverts that are gonna match the 100-year flood for this. There's 50 acres that are draining through this property because it's a blue stream property. And they also walked through like what the zoning in the area was. However, none of that means anything until I have it through in writing. They gave me some predictions on what could be done and what might happen, but the zoning consultant I'm talking to is not the board. So it's not a done deal until its plans are submitted and approved, and I'm sure y'all have had some interesting experience with zoning. What should you build, Corey?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, do some market research. Call your favorite realtor. Talk about what's moving in the area, right? Have a good understanding for what the desirability is, because depending on the location and market focus, there can certainly be your opportunities when it comes to luxury, workforce housing, vacation rentals. Each market, different area are going to be different and demand a different type of housing. So consult with your favorite agent, consult with your favorite professionals to have a good understanding for just your market knowledge for what's there.
Yeah, talk to builders like you have right here. Like get an idea of what's available in the market. This is probably one of the biggest ones, right? How will you manage? I think you go back to that one. How am I going to manage the construction? So, how am I going to manage the timeline? How am I going to manage the process? It's a fairly straightforward process, but it's just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy in terms of managing all these trades. So I want to have something. Anyone know what a Gantt chart is? G-A-N-T-T. You ever seen one of these? Maybe you use one if you're planning a wedding. A Gantt chart is a timeline. I should have put one in here so you could see it. But basically, when I'm looking at my timeline, I have some things that are contingent and I have some things that are independent, right? So if I'm working on the exterior, that's independent perhaps of what I'm doing on the interior. Does that make sense? Like once I get past rough-in, like might be waiting on something outside, but I can move forward on my interior. But there's some trades that are hold up everything else. Hey, I can't do anything on this till I get this permit or something. So having a clear idea when I'm looking at my timeline of what my independent variables and what my dependent variables are, and managing that process is like the magic. That's what you're hiring a good GC to do. It's the trade relationships, and then successfully managing this timeline is going to make all the difference. That's where they're earning their money. You need a GC to pull plans here.
Yeah.
So
ideally, you should have one, right? Like, can you do it yourself? Like, sure, but it's also there's a lot that can go into that, and a lot can kind of go wrong.
Can you still, Brad? You were emailing about this. Can you actually pull your own plan? You can build just like actually ADUs. If it is a primary residence, then you can act as the general contractor and supervise the own construction and pull your own permits on your primary residence. You cannot do it on an investment property.
Yeah, and oftentimes, right, these building plans can cost you anywhere between, say, $5,000 and $10,000. And if you're working with a builder who's already had some experience in this space, maybe has built this home over and over and over again, or has a handful of plans already ready to go, we can help kind of expedite that process. And we're just at that point worried a little bit more about a site plan in there if that's needed.
Sure. And so what a site plan is everyone seen blueprints before for a house?
Oh, my thing went away.
Like,
My picture didn't hold. Oh, I had a site plan on there. Sorry.
oh, there it is.
Well, the blueprint
Oh,
is
the
there.
site plan
My
went
site
in.
plan's
So,
gone.
blueprints, like good blueprints, are going to have all your trades. So when I go look at that, that's like my Bible. I'm going to be able to see my wiring diagram, plumbing. I'll be able to see framing, all of that stuff on that blueprint. A site plan is but that blueprint's going to be the same regardless of the house. I can use the same exact plans. I don't need to change the wiring diagram if I'm building the same house. My site plan is the interaction with that house and the lot that it's on. So that's going to take into account easements, topography, all the things, the systems that are external to the house, maybe the septic field. So depending on where I'm building, I might require a site plan. I've done infill before. We did not require a site plan. All we needed was just plans. And actually we just worked with the builder that had already done it and got it approved. We said we were building the same plan. He pulled the permits, very straightforward for us.
That's right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, right. You can hire your own. You can hire a general contractor who already has the needed trades. You can do it yourself on a primary residence, like Brad mentioned in there. I would always recommend just leverage it out, hire the pro. Don't be your own attorney. Don't be your own GC. Hire that out.
Is Norman Hernandez in the room? Wasn't sure if you made it. Yeah, we had a conversation yesterday. So just about the Norman, I reached out to because I saw a post. It was kind of interesting for me as an agent. Norman said, hey, he was posting one of the Tennessee real estate groups. I started listing my properties with an agent and I'm making more money. People aren't negotiating the same with me. Now, some of that is a phenomenon we've seen with for sale by owners where they just offer less to people than they offer if an agent's involved. Like you just get lower offers, you get bargain hunters. And when an agent's involved, they just know that there's not that same room. They're trying to save that commission. But he said it was just specialization for him. He's like, I've got someone, they specialize in this. And then over time, he's like, she just brought me a deal. And that more than made up for any money I'm ever going to pay her, like just that deal that she brought me. So generally speaking, if you're going to be doing this at scale, like I like working with someone that knows what they're doing. We've just grown a lot faster through partnership personally.
Yep, that's right. Yep. So managing is not for your faint of heart in there, although you can save 10, 15%, at least on the cost, and you will learn a ton about the process for sure. Most people start out by working with a GC. Again, just hire the pros rather than trying to go do this on your own. It's going to more than make up for anything that you save, in my opinion.
Yeah, the horror stories come out when people don't consult with other people. That's usually when we see people that have taken a loss, gotten ripped off, gotten stood up. Also, builders often want to partner with investors. So we're going to talk about this when Jamie gets up here. I've seen this many times when I was working with him, joint ventures where one party had the land, you know, maybe, hey, Nathan, you've got the credit. Can you go to Sean and get the financing because you've got the net worth where they'll lend off your net worth and I'll go ahead and take care of getting the property built. And I've seen lots of deals work out that way. Really simple, really straightforward, and partnering with someone that's bringing the land. So if you can find a great site or you've got a parcel of land, that could be an avenue for you to enter into partnership with one of the builders here.
Yeah, that's right. There we go.
Cool.
Yeah. So when it comes to financing, right, this is the big part, right? The what does it cost and how much is this really going to run me at the end of the day? So when it comes to financing, your local banks will often going to finance your construction projects with surprisingly good rates and terms, right? We had a show of hands in terms of people who have done a construction loan in the area, right? Awesome.
Just one or two, Jamie.
Yeah. A handful, right? Certainly this can depend on the strength of your relationship with that bank, what your track record looks like on there. Those terms and rates can be actually very, very good, very, very favorable.
And I'd say this is maybe like level 2, level 3 in the investing game. I've got some things underneath my belt. I've got a track record. I have a portfolio, or I've got another business with strong cash flow. Like banking locally, whether that's with Pinnacle, whether that's with First Bank, whether that's with some of these local banks that we've used here, like that relationship, we've been able to get some really good terms on new builds, get good terms on doing higher end BRRRR deals or reno deals. We're going to sell them. We're coming in, we're putting a couple $100,000 in and they're lending off the ARV, but it's based off of that relationship. So that's something to look at, just being tactical as you go forward of, hey, building a relationship with a local bank who's going to underwrite that thing off of your portfolio and is going to have some more flexibility and actually understand the local market, right? So risk alert, what can go wrong?
Yeah, right. So, these things take time, right?
I have a question, Corey.
Sure.
This is not to interrupt, but this is, who's had a construction project go long? My builders, just one or two? Yes.
Yeah.
We've had everything from electricians getting COVID to materials getting caught up, right? It can take a long time. So what's the risk there, Corey?
Sure, right? I mean, market shifts, material costs, right? Was anybody building in and around, say, the pandemic when material costs just immediately spiked?
Monica just raised her hand very slowly and reluctantly. You too, Jake?
Right, where you're mid project, things are rolling, stuff's already funded, and suddenly your material just all skyrockets, right?
Jake, you said you were having a house built. Like, how much did the price change on you during the process? Okay. Awesome. So you had a great contract locked in. Good for you. That poor builder got hosed.
Yeah, 100%.
So he had a
Wow.
2019 contract. So he's protected against materials. But if you're doing a cost plus, right, which could be a safe way to do this, could be a way to save money. It's not when all of a sudden, the market goes insane, and there was all sorts of factors that affected lumber back then, from bark beetles to more precipitation to the freeze in Houston. It was like 8 factors. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a cascading effect,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is just that risk involved, right? It's just time that it takes to go get something built. Typically you could be looking at, on the short end, I've seen people put a home together in 4 or 5 months. Typically it might be 6 to 8. And then if you're doing something bigger or higher end, you could be at 12 plus at that point.
If you were getting started, I would plan on a minimum of 8 months.
Yeah.
8 months, because there's going to be some lead time involved as well, and better to be conservative, right? Plan for the worst, hope for the
Hope
best.
for the best.
So
That's right.
costs can vary really, really widely depending on the type and the location, like what the finishes are. So it can go from 130 a foot to 200 a foot, and those both could be considered average finishes depending on the home that you're building. I think we'll have that conversation about cost per foot with our builders. They can get some insight. If you have questions on that, certainly can have a conversation about what that costs.
Yeah, I think an interesting note on there, right, is just that's the under the roof cost.
Yes.
That doesn't go into the cost of the dirt, the development of said dirt, like we touched on before. Those are all just like added costs that can go into that. So we're referencing this on a price per square foot. They're saying that's really just going to be that under the roof cost and not an all in for the land and development.
When I'm comparing apples to apples and I talk to a builder and I say, hey, what's a price per square foot? I got to keep in mind that's not going to be contingent on the lot. And in East Tennessee, topography is a huge, huge deal, right? Especially when you get out west. If you're doing something a little nicer, you're not building like on a flat city lot. All of a sudden you've got a walkout basement and you've added 80 to 100,000 to the cost of the home because you got to develop that out, right? Now those homes can command a greater price sometimes because you've got more square footage depending on how you finish it, but it can be a big variable. So just keep that in mind. Like there's a separate budget. I'm gonna have a budget for the house, and then that's gonna be demolition, site work and grading. So that's gonna be like the excavator coming out like, hey, where are you actually gonna build your house? They gotta prepare that site work, compact that dirt, grade in your driveway, all of that stuff, your utility connections. Are you gonna use a well? Are you gonna use septic? Anybody build cabins? Pay $100,000 for a well? Right? Depending on where it is, and depending on like, good luck getting someone out there to do it. Right. And then just your soft costs for all the legal paperwork, any sort of like you need a home warranty, a builder's warranty for that property. Great. So lots of variables, Corey.
Yep, that's right. So certainly when it comes to new construction versus rehabbing, there's a lot of things to consider in there. Understand it is a learning curve. Just like if you're doing rehabbing, if you're doing new builds, you're going to learn a lot along the way. And the more you're doing it, the more you know, the faster things move. Like it just gets exponential, a little bit easier. There's always going to be things that are going to come up. That's just, again, the nature of investing in real estate.
Who's got some questions while we reset the stage? We'll bring our guest speakers up. Who's got some questions on what we just talked about? I love it. We crushed it. Who's falling asleep? Needs a stretch. No questions for anybody that's coming here? Anybody? Yes.
You mentioned blue properties.
What's that?
You mentioned blue properties earlier.
Blue properties?
You mentioned about the site plan.
Yeah.
Culverts in. What percentage of properties would you say fall into that category?
That might require a site plan? So the question
well,
was...
not a site plan necessarily, but you go to the blue.
Oh, I was talking about blueprints versus site plans. And which properties don't require a site plan?
Blue
Oh,
stream.
Blue Stream. That's going to be contingent on land. So that's just, all of this information is available. Like it's you can go source all this stuff. Again, if you go down and talk to the city, you talk to the county, I found them to be very easy to work with. For example, who wishes they bought in South Knoxville now? Right? Man, I wish I would have known. There was a diorama in the city county building showing exactly what they were going to build for like 15 years, y'all. It was right there. It showed you exactly what we're going to do for the South Waterfront. You could have been snatching up properties right there this whole time. Like, it's not a mystery. If you go talk to them, they'll help you. I started a little sign spinning business, and I just went down and I talked to like all the applicable departments I could think of about traffic, and they helped me out there. So what percentage have a blue stream? One, you're going to know, do you have a stream running, like a creek running through your property? Like, one. And then second, you just go look at like KGIS and call it like environmental. And they gave us, we did that in our due diligence. So we didn't lose any money, but you want to have due diligence on land, right? There's a lot of, if you're going through your land contract, there's a lot of protection if you ask for it on the front end. You should not be writing like contracts on land with no contingencies. That's wild.
Yeah.
You know, unless you really know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's just a crazy risk.
Yep.
Not one to take.
Fantastic. Any other questions before we bring the panel up? Everyone ready to get the experts up here? Cool. Awesome.
Excellent.
Come on down, guys. Come on down.
Let's
Grab your
introduce Jamie
seat.
Smith, Brad Burns, Nolan Woody. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Give them a round of a hand. Here on there is fine.
Wherever you
Grab
want.
That mic's going to be your mic to talk, and then we'll share this.
one on? Fantastic. Corey, you want to sit on the inside?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what we'll do real quick for everybody, we'll intro our speakers. Jamie, we'll start with you when you're ready. I'll pass you down a mic. And real quick, just while you got we need to hold that one. Let's trade. It's got the other mic here. So what I think would be good, if everyone agrees, before we get into like the details and lost in the weed, is let's find out who they are, learn a little bit about their journey, and then we can go in and ask like specific questions, like nerd out. But this will give you a better idea of who you want to connect with afterwards. So, Jamie, who are you? What do you do right now?
Well, Jamie Smith, owner and contractor of East Tennessee Builder.
I think I get closer.
We are a luxury home builder, specialize in custom homes in the East Tennessee area.
And how long ago did you get started on the building side of the game?
So I actually started a little over 15 years ago, but I started kind of in where most of you guys are interested in starting. I started as an investor where I hired a GC when I had some property, and I pitched a dream of what I wanted him to build, and we started to sell it in a little subdivision called the Cove at Turkey Creek right behind Regal Cinemas.
Yeah. So, oh, great. Oh, Pete's clapping there.
I gotta clap.
No, it's fantastic. And then now you've got a GC license. You've got a couple different, but it's been a journey, right, over
Oh,
this
it's
15
been a
years.
big journey and a very expensive learning curve, so that's why you want to start with a GC. Most expensive education you can buy.
How about you, Nolan? What's your background? How long you been doing this? Like,
Yeah, I'm Nolan Woody. I'm out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I went to school at Lincoln Memorial University, played baseball up there. I worked for a commercial contractor building mostly retail construction. I was doing Hobby Lobbies, Starbucks, TJ Maxx, Walmarts, kind of the big retail box stores, and came in contact with a couple developers and a real estate agent. They were really looking to hire a contractor. Is that better? A contractor in-house just so they could control costs. You know, the biggest thing that you hear from developers is cost. And so the way that they were able to overcome that is we formed a team. I'm the operating partner of that team. We have 2 or 3 different arms of our company. Curb being the general contractor, which is what I do day in and day out. We have Conley Development Ventures that acquires the property, sells the property, and then we have Uptown Firm who is the real estate brokerage and handles the marketing and the real estate of that. We've
so
really
you've got a development arm. So just to reiterate for everyone's new, that's like how do I get the raw land and turn it into a product that the GC can do something with? You've got the general construction part of the business, it's actually building the structures.
Right.
And then you've got a residential real estate team.
Correct.
That's specializing in just selling and bringing that to market.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
And we're in Chattanooga, we're in Knoxville, and we're also in Gatlinburg. So we've done high-end campground, like a glamping community. We've done high-density urban infill products with townhomes. We've completed some PUD projects, which is cool, the tall, skinny.
So a PUD is a planned unit development. That's just another designation for how the land is owned and how the land conveys on the property. So those are townhomes, but it's a little different if it's a planned unit development, just in terms of title and some insurance things can be different
Correct.
as well.
Yep, we've completed our first self-storage project, which is cool. And then we've also done some institutional work for Chattanooga Christian School, building baseball fields with turf and indoor golf facility. So
So yeah, the variety, and then what's interesting to hear, I liked you laid out those different divisions, is like, you've got different divisions doing that, and then Jamie, Jamie's also an agent, so you've got wearing multiple hats.
Yeah.
That's why his hair's growing gray.
Yeah, beyond great.
Yeah,
I'm falling out.
Right.
Yeah, or none. I mean, I'm only 32 and I have no hair. Yeah, and then we've also have completed several single family, one neighborhood, and then some customs as well. So.
Awesome. And then Brad's got your own. Share with us a little bit about like your journey, where you got started, and what you're doing now.
Okay.
Put it right there.
Right there.
Yes, sir.
I am Da Vinci Design and Contracting.
You want to keep it right there.
The Da Vinci comes from, I'm an artist first, and then I started into medical illustration, and then changed into construction and design, and then manufacturing and engineering for 20 years. So building every widget you can think of, and how everything goes together. The nerdy part of how does this get constructed. So my journey started with manufacturing, and I shut down a lot of plants in the last 10 years of that journey. You learn something at each one, how you do this, how you do that. I taught a lot of people how to do their jobs. But in 2008 started with someone, a mentor as it were, and started flipping some properties, doing that on the side. So take off the monkey suit during the day, 30 minutes later be out there putting boards up and digging holes and whatever I needed to do. I guess in my construction part, I've done every trade except for block and brick. In industry, I did all the trades, and so I know enough, a little better than to be dangerous, but I know kind of what needs to be happening, and that helps me in managing the trades and construction and all of that in the background. I am commercial and residential. I've spent some time doing some build-outs of restaurants in second generation. Done a few tap rooms. The artist side of me, I've welded up and made a lot of the signage and fixtures and things for people. So that part of it, I'll spend a lot of time on the design part and put my fingerprint on things, and allow people also do that as well. But spec homes right now, some customs, and yeah, trying to do more new single family spec homes at the moment.
And Brad, I know, because we've worked together in some projects, and I've seen you work with other investors, I know, you also will go partner with investors and build spec homes for them
Yes.
for resale. So we wanted to have some different facets of, right, we've got different build levels, different models that they're running, so we can ask them different questions. So what I'd like to do actually is just, and I'll turn over to Corey, but there's a couple questions I always want to ask people, when I'm networking with them. I've had the chance to network with some of the best agents, investors in the country, right? So one of my favorite questions to ask is, what has failure taught you, Brad? What's a failure that's really taught you something? What have you learned from it?
It's like what's already been said. It's your most expensive education. You might as well, no matter what level you're at, you've got to be learning something from what you're doing. So in our world, it's every other week they seem to be moving the goalpost or changing a rule, or you just haven't seen that one before when you open up a wall. So that's the failures. You have to take it and then make something positive out of it. You learn every time what not to do or what to be watching out for, and you can definitely lose a lot of tens of thousands along the way, but usually that will help you form the better plan the next time, and then hopefully recoup a lot of that.
I'd like to ask Nolan a similar question. You've done a lot of large scale projects, right? So it's gonna be more moving parts, more people involved. What's a failure that y'all have had that you've learned a lot from?
Yeah, I think it's learning different markets, different municipalities. All the inspections and inspectors are a little different. And so really learning, like on the multifamily side, we have, 2-hour walls. We call them shaft wall liners in our line of work. So, learning how to frame in different municipalities and how to keep those fire ratings. I have a coworker here, Jake. We've learned kind of the hard way, just getting used to Knoxville compared to Chattanooga. And so it costs us money, but we learn on the first one. And now we've completed, over 100 units in Knoxville. So we learn and we grow and we move on and just keep fighting through it.
No, I love that because, it highlights if you're going to do this, like having experience with different municipalities. One thing that has been my experience as a roofer in another life is meeting people here telling you how something's been done for 20 years. And I'm sure they're swearing on a stack of Bibles. And it is not code. It's not how it should be done, but it is how it has been done.
Sure.
I see Jamie nodding.
That's what Bubba said.
So I got the same question for you, Jamie, as well. Like, yeah, what's a failure you can think of that you've learned a lot from? And I got unique perspective. So Jamie and I worked together for many years. Started working together in 2010. So I got to see that journey when it was just an investor, and I learned that. I'm like, oh, these guys go out and they play golf, and they come back with a deal. Like Carl had the land, Bill had the net worth for the money, so he just had the backing, and Jamie was going to take care of building this thing. And I was like, it really is just that simple, and like rinse and repeat. So what have you learned along the way? You've done quite a few things.
We've done a lot, and these guys touched on a lot of the headaches and the learning pieces that we get. But one of the things I always want to point out is a lot of times we don't do our due diligence on lots properly, especially when you're first starting out. And it is very easy in East Tennessee to pick up a lot that you think is a good deal, and you start to dig when you're getting ready to hit that foundation, and guess how much rock you hit. And all of a sudden, that lot that cost you $40,000, you just spent $80,000 removing the rock from it. Now you got 120 grand, and there goes all your profit out the door. So that is one of the biggest learning curves I've learned from over all the years where we just started. And you would think right in the middle of Turkey Creek, and that was one of them. One of the 4 we did over there, there is no rock on that lot after we built 3, and there was none, and boom, we hit one. $60,000 later, we got rid of all the rock, built the house, and sold it for cost, moved on. So.
Yeah, and I would say one of the things that I've learned from working with you on these luxury builds is the lots get a lot more complicated. Often what makes a property a luxury property here is either going to be proximity to the water or its views and topography. And so just like the site cost, right, is a huge portion of what you can build out there.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in East Tennessee.
What are you've built, and then we'll go back in reverse order, talk about some of the projects. What are you building? Oh no, Corey.
I'll make an edit.
Okay.
I can make an edit on the fly.
Yeah, go ahead, man. I'll let Corey rock that out because I want to show you some of the products there. We can pull up the websites if we need to. Like, you've built some different markets. What product are you building right now? Like, where's the ball?
So
what area are you playing in?
So we're currently still playing in the West Knoxville, Loudon area, Farragut, Hardin Valley, and then Tellico Village and Tennessee National, if y'all are familiar with those developments. Our average build is a little over $1 million right now, and our average sale price is just under 1.5. So we specialize in a higher end luxury home. We currently have about 13. 11 of those are completed, 2 are about halfway done, and then we've got several more that will be starting as we close out the year.
What's for those who might not know her new? What's Tellico Village and what's Tennessee National?
So Tellico Village was founded to be like a retirement community. It was started in the 80s. It is just south of Knoxville. It has a little over 7,500 lots, 3 championship golf courses, lakefront community, rec centers, several restaurants. It wasn't 55 and up only because it's designed for everybody, but it's a beautiful community and just a kind of face looking for retirements. Tennessee National is a community that was actually started in 2006, and they struggled tremendously with what happened with the economy from '08. It's actually changed hands 3 times now with developers, but the current developer has launched a huge marketing program that has really taken that to the next level. But it is a gated golf course community, lakefront, amphitheater with live music, coffee shop in-house. They have a little bit of everything. Villas start in the 600s, and your biggest house right now is about 4.5 million.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate that. Nolan, how about you? You got a lot of different things going on right now.
Yeah, so well, I guess in the Knoxville market, it's mostly townhomes and downtown Knoxville. So we've
got the Saint pulled up right now for you, Nolan.
Okay, cool. So the Saint was a 28 townhome development on West Blunt Avenue. Those are extremely close to campus. They have views of Neyland Stadium. So as you can imagine, pre-sales on those were really hot.
For my geographic, so that's in South Knoxville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I will touch on that project, everyone talks about infrastructure, right, and talks about winning with the land. We didn't win with the land there. That was a very challenging site. We had bad dirt. We were sharing dirt with Kern's Bakery.
What makes dirt bad dirt? Because that's another thing people might not know about, is how much the dirt can change the construction process.
Yeah, it was contaminated just because of, it could be one of many things. It could be oil spills. It could be a gas station. It could be foundry sand. There's multiple different avenues there. So we had to undercut that whole property and bring in compactable fill dirt. So we were doing that right in the middle of winter, and as everyone knows, it's hard to get dirt to compact in winter when it's raining, snowing, freezing, thawing out, and then that same cycle continues over and over again. But putting all that aside, it was a very successful project. I think we have one unit left. Moving forward, we have a couple communities in 4th and Gill. We have one on North Central, and then we have a couple new projects coming out of the ground in South Knoxville. So really looking at the urban growth, taking old, like that property, Happy Holler is what we're calling it. It had a couple of old buildings we demoed, and then we're, again, bad dirt, so undercut, bring in good dirt, and then start going vertical.
Yeah, so different approaches, right? West Knoxville, only dealing with the county, although sometimes you're dealing with Farragut, so that's, you'd rather maybe be dealing with the city of Knoxville, versus, hey, you're doing city infill stuff, right?
Yeah, mostly high density stuff,
Yeah, and higher density, which is in line with the new growth plan, right? We've talked about missing middle and advanced Knox, so kind of filling the demand that they asked for.
Yeah, one more thing on
Yeah,
that,
please.
sorry. Just to clarify, we're not doing any apartments. They're all townhomes, and so that's how we kind of differentiate from a lot of downtown developers, because we want people to be able to own their home and, have their own roof and their own, usable space.
And then Brad, where have you been? You've done projects a little bit all over. Where are the projects you've been working on? What part of town? Where's?
Right now, Chilhowie area, a lot of those infill. Spec homes, doing 3-2s, usually that entry level. And
So Chilhowie over in East, so
Yes.
Chilhowie Park over in East Knoxville, where the Tennessee State Fair is going to be next month.
That, and that's with, I've got a handful of developers and some new that are finding lots and have already some. And in those demographics, building the right thing and then working on the design, so it's, we've actually built in and engineered the quality in there, but yet still keep the cost to build reasonable. I've got a couple of customs, Kingston, in the middle of Knoxville. Those are going to be customs for the owners, like about 4,000 to 5,000 square foot on their own properties and such. I'm in planning stages on most of those, as in my opinion, the site plan, that's where you really, that's one of the most important things that I always harp on, is the planning. Know where you're at. You're always going to have something come up. You're always going to have something that surprises you, but try your best to have the best thought out building plan, and also the site plan. Know that the site conditions are always going to be a gamble sometimes. And I've saved, I guess, so many spec homes in the last 3 or 4 years. Contractors running away with everything they put into it. One house in Carnes was built on the last lot in the whole subdivision, and it turned out to be where everybody dumped their topsoil. So the guy had to go, we had to build and cut out foundations, spend another 150 grand on a $250,000, house, to go down, and there was structural problems. The slabs were cracking after 6 months. When I came in, we had to cut a lot of that out. The driveway was like this. We had to do a lot of tear out and rework to make it minimum code in some cases, but also make it sellable. And it sold pretty quick once we did those things. But that's what I run into a lot is people. That was a developer, her first time. She actually had 2 lots side by side. Both of them were the ones that they dumped all the topsoil from all that subdivision onto. So all of it had to be dug, $50,000 retaining walls and so forth. So if someone had done a soil sample for $1,500 before they got started, that would have saved them a whole lot, and they would have known at least what direction to go. So I get into a whole lot of, I've gotten into a mess. Can we figure it out and make it better?
I'd be curious just kind of each of y'all's perspectives because you're operating in different fields. But in general, we've seen a lot of influx to our area, certainly like a lot of demand, but I'd be curious just what each of your perspectives are in terms of where the market's headed in our area. Where do you really see demand going, pricing, where does just new construction going? It seems to be certainly the only way we get out of this inventory hole that we've been in for years and years now. So I'd really love each of your perspectives just on where do you see the market headed?
Want me to start?
Yeah. I'm thinking about my answer.
He's like, thank you. Yeah, we have to think on that one, right? Well, based on the guys that I talked to and listened to, which are some of the best industry experts in new construction and in real estate, they have pinpointed East Tennessee to still be one of the strongest growing markets over the next 10 years. And they believe a high percentage of that is to be new construction. We are so underbuilt with the amount of people that are moving here that they said we could build 10,000 homes for the next 5 to 10 years, and we still couldn't build enough homes, and there's not enough builders here to do 10,000 homes right now. So obviously, like they mentioned, D.R. Horton coming in trying to build, close to 1,000, 800, 900. They're trying to put a dent in that because they've seen it, and just like the industry experts, D.R. Horton being one, why are they here? They know what Knoxville and this East Tennessee market has to offer, and that's why they're here building and buying everything they can. So I think the market's going to be very strong. We're just in a weird spot right now, as we all know, but it's common this time of year with rates up, elections going on, and some of the other things that have been going, hurricanes in Florida. We're all probably up here thinking what's going to happen to our material prices over the next couple months, right? So as those things affect, but yeah, I think the market's going to be good.
Yeah, we're taking a little bit different approach. I mean, all that stuff is very much true, and we're right there with it. But we're really trying to attack the affordable investment style property. With interest rates being so high, with inflation, with everything that's going on, we're trying to live in that mid 300 range, and the end user of that are either first time buyers, young professionals, or short-term rental, long-term rental investors. So we really want to live in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, and just produce higher and higher volumes of those infill properties.
Yeah.
And so we had a call with Barack Saltzman, the city manager for D.R. Horton. One of the things that he said, interestingly for them, is they want to continue at that lower end of the market. Like the goal is to build enough inventory to stabilize prices. So that is, the goal would be that prices don't continue on this upward escalator forever, because there's got to be some sort of relation between prices and wages. And I don't know who's an employee in here, but are your wages going up as fast as costs? No. Anybody getting killer raises? Yeah. Like there's got to be some sort of like a stabilization there. So how many units, what's your growth plan, Nolan? How many do you plan on building over the next couple of years? Like what kind of volume are you all forecasting or building towards?
Who's got some deals? Who's got some land?
Yeah.
In a perfect world, what would that look like? What's the capacity? What could y'all build?
We're comfortable between 100 and 200 units a year. That's kind of where we've been the past couple of years. We're actually a little down right now because finding the land at an affordable, we were talking before the panel, finding affordable land is the biggest hurdle. So if we can find the land, we can build all day long. But we're looking for deals, so bring us some deals.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah.
How about you, Jamie? What's your capacity? Grab the mic and see. Like, there's an upper limit, I guess, probably on how many. I'm sure there's an upper. So when you're dealing with custom homes, one of the things to talk about. This actually be a good one we could talk about as a segue. When you're building a home, here's one thing that can really increase the cost of your home are change orders. And what are custom homes? But just nothing but an endless cycle of change orders. So change orders are where the plan changes along the way, and you decided you want to put different finishes in, change the kitchen, add a sunroom. So we could talk about that, but what's your bandwidth for customs?
Well, so custom's a little different, right? So you're dealing with clientele usually in a custom home, and that takes a whole lot of babysitting from day one till, let's call it day 365, that you are sitting there. So you've got somebody you're babysitting the whole time, and actually they're babysitting your subs and your superintendents and everybody every day, and they're calling you with all the questions. And it's like, no, you should ask them. That's what they're there for. But capacity-wise, we look to do about 20 million a year in custom homes. That's kind of what we're set at. So that puts us right around 10 to 12 custom homes in a year. But we also are poised, and we're doing some other stuff as well, which I didn't talk, but very similar. We're getting ready to do some townhome developments in Seymour and things. Those will be sub 500s. So we've got a 50-unit development out there that we just got approved. We'll be breaking ground on sometime later this year. So we've got capacity there, and we're kind of doing the same thing. Probably somewhere similar to about 100, 150 units we would like to be able to build over the next year.
And one of the things, I'm going to encourage y'all, the number of times in my career where I've thought I figured something out but been too shy to act on it, and then been like, nope. Like, you do not have to be that much smarter than the market to make it. Like, we were looking in Tellico, and there was no product in Tellico. This is all retirement, right? It's all 2,000 square foot and up, mainly 3,000, two-story homes. And it's like, if we just built a smaller home out there, you could be the only one on the market for 300 grand. Great idea, and then COVID happened. But it was a great, Jimmy and I working together. I was running the real estate side of the sales operation of that team. But it's like, we could just do the same finish level, reduce square footage, and there's a need for that product. It doesn't exist in the market. So just by looking at what's happening in other markets and applying those lessons here, like, that is where it's going to go. And would you say, do you see, what sort of trends are you seeing in design? And you can all answer that. Like, are you seeing the style change here with the influx of new people that are coming into the area?
So I'm going to give that a yes and a no, right? Because the people that have been here that are still building and reaching out with custom homes are still kind of locked into I'll call it the East Tennessee traditional. But the influx of people that we're building for, we just finished a pretty nice home in Loudon for a couple from California, and it had a whole lot of modern touches, way more than we've done for the average client in East Tennessee.
Interesting. And how about you, Nolan? The product you're building is you're doing these, it's more of like an urban industrial.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely, I wouldn't say, kind of mid-century modern finishes. And that's just because everyone else is building traditional. If everyone was building mid-century modern, we would go back to traditional. So we just try to stay ahead of that curve a little bit.
Because you're distinguishing your inventory. So let's open up some questions. Who's got some questions for the panel? Who wants to know something? Travis, come on up here. Who else has got a question? Yeah? You want to come up here and ask your question? Not that. No, come on up. Well, let's see. Travis is on our team, so Travis can wait. Travis. Phil, what's your question?
So how do you design a proper range for, like demand-wise? How do you design 300 to 400 is the most desirable range? Like, how do you decide, if Al said in the Knoxville market, if I go to a rural area, what kind of range should I decide and what kind of factors should I take into consideration?
So I think we're talking about for my production builders there, if it was Nolan or Jamie, and, you know, Brad, you're not selling directly to the consumer, you're working on behalf of a consumer. How am I picking my price point?
Yeah, I mean, when you go out in rural areas, the land's inherently going to be cheaper, right? And so it's all kind of comes out in the wash because you're buying cheaper land. The building cost, the vertical cost is essentially the same. It may be a little cheaper, but also the sales price is going to be the same or less, excuse me.
Right.
And so you still have to figure your profit margin and know the comps. Talk to your local real estate agent. Talk to anyone that kind of understands the area, and they'll be able to give you better information on comps.
I'll put it another way. So we talk about median, we talk about average price point. Median price point is if I put all of the properties on the market in order, 0 to $5 million, and I pick the one that sold right in the middle, that is my median price point. I use median. It's a little more accurate than average because if a $5 million sale happens, right, it could really move the average. Median's going to be more accurate. So is that something you're looking at? Like, hey, I want to be at a median price point or around a median price point?
Yeah, we want to be slightly under that if possible.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that help, Phil? For the area, fantastic.
So I am an agent also, but I want to make sure that if I'm talking with a client looking to purchase land, what factor of cost should my client keep in mind? Like when they purchase the land, before they even get into the build process, like how much cost is on the front end of that? And
Jamie question.
Yep, we'll
Maybe.
stop there for that one.
Right? So that could be a loaded question, right? Because it can really vary. But we've always used a general rule of thumb for a standard community lot of about 15% of your overall house cost should be put into your lot purchase. But that can really differentiate, like if somebody's got a lakefront property and they're going to go pay $750,000 for it, well, they may have a whole lot more than 15% of their house cost in that. So it can vary quite a bit.
I'll ask you another way. That's going to be, what contingencies should I be asking for, and what should I be doing on the front end if I'm purchasing land? Is it going to be a soil sample? Like, what are the minimum that you would want to do if you're looking at a lot and that due diligence?
Lot versus raw, right? So lot is likely already had a lot of that done,
Sure.
unless you get into an instance like Brad ran into over here. They were the last 2 lots in the subdivision. But the majority
And
of the lots.
that's common, isn't it, Jamie? The
very
last 2
common.
lots are the junk lots. Like, people are dumping their trash, all kinds of stuff there.
That's why they were cheap.
That's why
No,
they were
it
cheap.
happens consistently. Yeah.
So that can, that's one of the things you look at. If it's a built development, the developer, things like that, you've already known they've done a lot of their study. So you may not need as much due diligence time and things to look at there. But do take in fact, when you're looking around the community, if you see decorative rock or evergreen trees growing in a lot of places, because that does mean there's probably likely rock in that subdivision. So if you see that, you might recommend your client gets a soil sample to see what kind of rock there is there. But then you've got perk tests for septics. Typically, you're going to have.
So that's a
if you need a
percolation
well,
test where they test like how the water
Yeah.
is going to go through that soil.
yeah.
Right.
If you're going to need a well,
Yep.
right? What kind of zoning does that property already have? Right? Is it got what you need to be able to build just their single-family residence or whatever they're looking to do? So there's a lot of instances that you're going to need a little more due diligence on the raw land than you will on an established community.
And one thing, just before we go on to Travis's next question, I was thinking about this with the soil you had, Nolan. Like, one thing to keep in mind on a larger scale development is, like, you're using the soil on site. You need geotechnical engineering because, like, if you're using the on-site soil, like, how you construct the cement is going to vary depending on the soil.
Right.
Like, do you need to bring in different additives? Like, how much compaction is there going to be? Like, it can obviously significantly increase your price.
Yeah.
What's the correct timeline to bring in a builder? When I'm working with a client that's looking for land, when do they need to start that relationship?
Doesn't matter. Anybody can answer that problem.
Yeah, take it, Brad.
I say that it's your plan. what are they looking for? Is it something they're going to move into and retire in? How are they going to use, the build versus an investment? Or some of my clients, they've built and they said, in 20 years, we'll move on and then we'll sell it. So we want to build in designs that will last and won't really be so trendy that we can get back out of it later and so forth. And as far as land, if it is rural and so forth, the infrastructure that's available, you'll get into a whole lot. If you're in a wooded area, I did a 500-foot long driveway in the middle of the city, and it cost another 10 or 12,000 just to get KUB to do the extra poles and the gas lines, and because it was infill within an older established neighborhood, everybody on the gas line had to be asked and sign off, and there was 2 months of paperwork, so forth. So depending on what they intend to use the build for, I would say that leads you to ask the questions, and who knows what part is next.
Thank you. So,
Hey guys, I'm Pat with Service Life Electric, as I mentioned earlier. So my question for you is just specifically, are you seeing zoning laws being adjusted with the difficulty of zoning and getting more people per, square foot maybe? I don't know what the correct terminology there would be, but are you seeing more change in the zoning laws as you're going about it?
I'm not an expert on rezoning, but we've been through the process a few times. I do think for our style of product, for the urban density, that they're being a little more acceptive of it, just because we're trying to revitalize a property in an area. But my honest opinion, it depends on who you talk to and what day it is. It seems like it changes with the wind, but that's probably not the right answer on stage.
well, and Jamie, you might speak to this. As we've had the city versus county discussion a lot. There's a lot of builders. The reason why there's infill is because, the county, you had very few restrictions. So people don't want to mess with the city at all because you had almost no restrictions on the county level. You're building in Sevier County as well, like in Seymour. What's your perspective on this?
So, it's definitely, like he's saying, each municipality is definitely different, and you never know who you're going to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But one of the things, so we've seen that Sevier County has been pretty friendly to the development side. If you've been up around Sevier County, you see the number of cabins and things that have been built for investments over the last 4 or 5 years is just absolutely insane. I don't remember how many thousands they've said that have pulled permits just in the last 16 months or something. It's crazy. But so Sevier's been pretty lax. But then I'll take something like, you had mentioned Farragut earlier. They're very strict, right? And just having a change, if you're wanting a zoning change or something on one of your lots, it's very, very hard to get done there. They pretty much lay it out the way they want it, and it's either done their way or just forget it. That's for the most part. Hardin Valley, that's another one that we're building in. They've got a board that's been put together out there in Hardin Valley, and with all these developers moving in that have been trying to do box builds and your D.R. Hortons and your Goodall Homes and Ball Homes and people like that, we're trying to get so much density. They have now stepped in and started dealing with the politicians and everybody downtown to make them put bigger lots and less density on these properties. So they used to be able to get about 5 houses per acre when they started this about 5 years ago. Now they're at 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I've got a question after you about infrastructure. I'm just curious to see that. But Frankie, what's your question, buddy?
So I'm trying to build my first spec house. What do your teams look like? What sort of personnel do you need to make this happen?
For context, Frankie's a general contractor.
Yes. Yeah, we talked earlier. So, from your perspective, you're getting ready to build one house. Depending on your time, you may manage it yourself, right? If you don't have the time, you really need a superintendent or a construction manager that has the knowledge. Somebody that could pretty much check on that house, I would say daily, but at least once a week. And they're staying in touch with your subs and your vendors and people to make sure that things are scheduled and staying on time and following up to make sure they were done properly, especially when you're new to the game. You got to watch out. I've heard Brad over here taking over builds where GCs would just burn people and left. So that's a common thing. You got to be careful, be smart about who you hire.
And I'd be curious to hear Brad's answer too, because you're on that same scale. No one's got a bigger organization.
You've really got to set up the relationship with your trades and know who you're working with. You may have to go through several people or groups. Everybody's going to be in their lane doing electrical or doing the plumbing or doing the framing. Each step of it, there shouldn't be anybody out there really that does it all. That's first red flag. If they do it all, then they're too spread too thin. Something's going to happen, and it does. But
Write that one down.
But yeah, you've got to, and you'll go through several, and it is the learning process. In the beginning, you may want to really be a study on how things go together and not just trust that they're going to show up when they call you. You need to surprise visit, make sure that they did what they said they were supposed to do. Don't pay hourly. They need to be bidding on the job, because if it takes them 2 weeks to do 2 days job, those sort of things will run your cost up. Now, as far as an entry level and getting started and your first spec homes and things, the good set of plans so that everybody's on the same literal page. So you're all looking at the same thing and expecting the same thing, and don't be afraid to expect when you're going to be finished, and you're going to have to tell me what caused that not to happen, because then you have to answer to who may be your investors, or if it's out of your pocket, and timeline. So, and you're balancing that around the whole time. It doesn't necessarily get easier as much as you just handle it better.
Oh, well, thank you. I really do appreciate it very much.
You good?
That was, write all of that down. That's the stuff, like, I know it doesn't sound like, it sounds like common sense. That's the game right there. That is like, oh, they can do it all, because I've seen people build the whole house and it's fantastic, but it took 5 months. Like on a reno project, because they're doing all the trades and there's only 2 of them. Like you're not gonna be able to scale like that. And if your margins require that, it might not be the right deal, right? Ryan, what do you got?
Awesome. Thanks for your time. I'm Ryan. I'm very, very new to investing, so this might be a naive question. But can you describe like construction between traditional like timber, lumber, rather than like these kit houses, like specifically barn dominiums? Are they cost effective? Are they faster? I feel like I hear a bad rep about barn dominiums, but I don't know why. So if you can maybe elaborate or say differently. Yeah.
Anybody got experience with barn doors?
I have experience with pre-engineered metal building, so there's all kind of different types of barn doors. I mean, there's barn dominiums that are framed just like a house. They're stick framed, and then they just put metal siding on. There's post exterior framing. There's pre-engineered metal buildings. I would say from a cost perspective, you're not really saving a whole lot of money. I mean, the money, you win in the land, you win in the infrastructure, right? And then as far as vertical construction goes, you're going to differentiate between luxury finishes, spec finishes, but that's all pretty attainable when it comes to square footage price. So I would say I would focus more on land and infrastructure probably than the style of building or home that you're looking at.
So it sounds like barn dominium is maybe more a question of utility, like I want a mixed use building or something, and not a question of like, it's gonna be a better investment, I'm gonna save all this money by getting a metal building.
Well, and it's probably for some of these lenders here too, I've heard stories to where, comps, lending,
Got it, yeah. Comps are a problem. We could go on about this too, because now I'm thinking about, we're gonna wrap this thing up. Anyone have one final question? Laura, do you have a question? Come on up here, Laura, while we do this. A couple questions to think about, ask these guys. One would be infrastructure. Like, is there gonna be infrastructure in the area to support that? Depending on where you wanna go. So serious infrastructure issues in Hardin Valley, down in Seymour, right? That's why we can't do multifamily down there. The other one would just be, gosh, it just escaped me on the custom side. It'll come back to me. Laura, what's your question? Come right here so everyone can see you.
Hey guys, I am a new investor and I've been on a raw land search with a short-term rental vision for better part of a year, and I've learned a ton from this group. But I think my main question would be, can one of you speak to more of the details in a deal you've done with an investor where you guys have come together on a vision that somebody brought you, and what does that look like so each person in the party wins and walks away with something?
So it sounds like a good question for Brad, and a question for Jamie, although Nolan, have you had experience doing that, or you've been more like, you've actually just partnered and built an entire business with a partner? Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, we work for in-house developers, external developers, other. But to answer your question, I mean, most of everything we've done is for short-term rental, and so I would say, just to be quick, the big importance there is like capacity, right? How many people can you list on VRBO or Airbnb? If you have a bonus room, you know, what's the layout for bunk beds? What's the layout for futons? Where's furniture go? And so to be more thoughtful on the front end when you're dealing with the architects to say, hey, this is a short-term rental. How can we maximize our capacity and get the most bang for our buck when it comes to new construction?
And then Brad, I think I'd love to hear your perspective on that partnership, right? Because I've seen you partner with investors where they very much did what Laura did. They had a vision, they might have brought the plan for you, and you were the one that built it for them.
In some of the cases, I know one that turned out to be 3 lots, and the original lot was a condemned house that was taken down that had some of its own things to do with on the site conditions. But that was what worked, was they got the deal. They were able to subdivide it and just help them build each one and figure out the logistics for each of those. There's been some in Sevier County too that I've worked with that it's the same thing. If you're starting out, they purchased the right old house that had several bits of acreage, figured out how to subdivide everything, well water, whether sewer and water was coming in by the county in the future, find out about those things so that they could actually build 4 or 5 Airbnb type cabins and so forth, and still kept the old house back in the back lots and so forth. So just being creative and maybe coming up with the good plans for what can be built, and then that might be the easiest thing for finding some raw land and enough space to do it, is look for the old stuff that you can scrape down and find somebody to help sort it out.
And so those were 2 questions that talked about the viability of short-term rentals and what you could bring to the relationship as the planner, the one with vision. Can we ask about the financial side? So when someone's hiring you, are you coming in as an equity partner? Are you coming in like, as a project partner? Is it cost plus? Like that, I think, is Laura's question as well. It's like, how does that financial side work? What's a fair relationship between me and my builder?
On some of mine, if they don't have anything to start with, I'll come up with a few ideas, help with the design, the layout of the site. So I may partner with them to, if you want to say, develop the vision, and then my goal is to build and actually construct what we've decided on and so forth too. So it's twofold. I enjoy the planning and the design element of it, and trying to create something, and then actually to fruition and build it.
Great. And Jamie, I want to ask you this question here, because you started out being the investor, hiring the Gs. So what was can you give us an idea of like how you structured that deal financially?
So yeah, that one was pretty straightforward, right? So we went 50-50 partners on it, and we went to the lender. So I brought the lot. We went to the lender with the vision of the plan. We borrowed the money built the house, sold it, and splitted whatever profits we made. But there are so many variations on how you might partner with a GC or partner in it. I mean, we've done multiple different scenarios. It's like you said, it's just figuring out what's the win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, and so you've done that, and you've done that with multiple partners on like the financing side, for example, or multiple partners. Have you also hired builders like just as more as an employees rather than capital partners?
We have.
And what's been more successful, the joint ventures or hiring them like?
Usually the joint ventures seem to be more profitable. They really do.
Does
But
the incentives line up? Like
the
so that
incentives line up
builders
better. You got
also-
more control over it.
And they've got cost
Yeah.
control. Interesting. Yeah. Nathan, I think it's the last question for everybody, and then we can network. Nathan, what's your question? Come on up here, bud.
I was just going to ask how they financed that one at the beginning. So how'd you finance? What were the terms? How much did you have to bring on that first house?
So we actually just borrowed 80% of the value, the lender, so we didn't actually have to put any money down since we already owned the property. So they used the property and then gave us 80% of the loan to value of what the actual estimated resale value of the house was.
So they used the appraised value of the property, and they applied that as your down payment for the
Correct.
loan to value, right? Loan to value
Yeah.
is going to be based off of the appraised value, so it's 80%. That land covered the 20%.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Hey, big round of applause for our panel. Thank you all so much. So where's the contact card? I don't see it. So we're going to send out all their contact information. We'll have a recording there. If you are interested in more content, which clearly we've got a big demand here, let us know. We can do a lot more on new construction. We've taught some other classes on it. We can go a lot deeper. Next Friday, 9 a.m., we're going to be at the Design Center. The Design Center is in historic Mechanicsville. And can I ask everyone, did anyone get any value out of today? Clap your hands if you did. Can we ask you for a small favor that would take 5 minutes of your time? Maybe 3 minutes. Can you go to Casa Knoxville, that is our team, and leave us a review? Just something speaking to our character, your experience. Like if you could just go on there and leave us a review, it would greatly help. We've had all sorts of issues, so I had no Google site for about a year, so we were just getting that launched. So if you could do that for us, really would appreciate that. We'll include the link for the review when we send out our thank you tomorrow.
That's right. Cool. Winners. Right.
We got our winners for our social contest. Then we're
Wait.
wrapping this up.
Wait.
Winner, chicken dinner. Who won, Corey?
Yeah, we actually got 2 winners picked out on here. So I want to give a big thank you to Aaron White and Jessica Stevens. Thank you so much for your support in there. Give it to
Jessica,
Allison, who was
Aaron,
taking care of
thank
that.
you. Some sweet
Right.
grid swag.
We'll see you guys.
Yeah.
As Justin mentioned, we got our coffee meetup next Friday, and then next month is actually we're diving into the world of short-term rentals.
Ooh, and I have one last thing. If you didn't know, GRID is a national organization, right? I help lead over 30 communities around the country. We're opening more. Jump in the National GRID Investor page. We've got training like this every single week, 2 to 3 times a week that they're live streaming in there. So if you've got questions, general questions, like you're asking Frankie, kind of like team questions, play questions, Laura, like you asked, jump in there. I've got a lot of like 30 different grade leaders in there that can jump in and answer those questions for you. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next month. Hopefully we see you on Friday.
Thanks, y'all.